What up, everybody? Scuffy here, and it's been a good couple of days. I haven't I'll be honest with you, I've only played a little bit with the new Raven Guard stuff, the tweaks, the updates, the changes. I've had a couple days, but it's been a busy work week for me, and it's been a couple days of some things around the house, mainly just some resting and snoozing. And be honest with you, Police Academy series was on Netflix. I think they did all the movies, and so I spent some time doing that, and I'm not going to feel guilty about it at all. That's right. That's right. The question is, Hightower or Tackleberry? I like Tackleberry more than Hightower, but I can appreciate Hightower, you know? Anyways, I did get some games in, though. The Raven Guard, for me, I would like to, but I'm going to go, sorry, buddy, if you see this, I'm in the midst of recording, and I was going to show some game replays, so I can't play you right now. But overall, so far, 6 for 6. It's only 6 games. It's only been some here and there, so it's not 25 games. It's not 30. It's not 100. It's just the games that I've been able to play with Raven Guard. I went with Corax first initially, mainly because I was very comfortable with Corax. I used to do Corax a lot for a long time. When I first got him, he was the second Primarch I got, and I was very fun. I like the play style of the Raven Guard. I do, and a lot of people are doing Shuriken, and that's cool. He's got a lot of potential. I do want to do a Nev build, and when I find a comfortable, successful Nev build using these new changes to the Raven Guard, I will do a video on that, I promise, and I will show that because Nev is extremely underplayed, and I hope that these changes will make him worth branching out to. I think there are several cards specifically that I do think will work out well for him, but I did want to show through here with regards to the Corax games here. I had a couple, I had a mirror game, I had a Shuriken game, I had a Horus game. Fail was against Ornitov, so that doesn't count. But not bad stuff. So first, I'm going to just go ahead and start playing a couple games here, and we'll kind of talk through what I enjoyed about the changes with the Raven Guard, which should not be too hard to do. Now, you'll note in this game here, I kept the Javelin Speeder because it is a Raven Guard matchup. That card is going to come in handy, and I don't want to be fishing for it. I also don't want to run the risk of there being 2 Javelin Speeders in my deck in the event that my opponent gets a Jubok down initially and is able to copy it several times. However, with this hand, I'm running pretty light. I don't have anything to put down here, and that's going to kind of very interestingly flow the course of this game. So just kind of watch and pay attention. I'll speed it along as we're going. But I like the changes. I don't think there's any card that has been changed with the Raven Guard that I dislike. I would have liked to have seen a couple more, but overall, not bad stuff. With Raven Guard, Corax specifically, you do want to pay attention and be timely consideration when you can use your ability and go stealth. Depending on how your deck is set up, you can have a higher, like a 6 cost, sentence troops, which broadens your ability to go into stealth with your warlord. But you can use that to prolong the game. The problem with prolonging the game is, especially as there are more anti-stealth options that exist, as the longer you prolong the game, the greater chance that you will fall vulnerable to those anti-stealth. So there is something to be said about trying to do the damage to the warlord as quickly as possible. Now, the Solero bikes are not something that you want to deploy right away, second turn, third turn. They are something that you do want to hold on to when you have a combo to go with it. either be it with deliverance to stealth them, or sentenced, or the option where it's gonna help you get past a frontline unit, or maybe it'll help you give you the range with your warlord to with Corax ability specifically to go use his ability and go into snipe mode. There's a lot to go with it. With Corax, his reckoning, the more troops that you have that are stealthed, that stay on the board longer, take away from his reckoning. So if you're building for Corax, you do want to take that into consideration. If you're going heavy stealth sentenced troops like Numa squad or the Mordathan, you're probably not going to be able to use your reckoning, if at all, let alone like right at 10 energy. However, if you're using disposable troops, the Orderis, Scimitar, Jet Bike, Solero squads, things that make an impact on the table right away, but then immediately go away, you have a better chance of doing your reckoning. And a reckoning build with Corax, he's got a great reckoning mode. It's not to be overlooked. It's something to think about. But you do have to build it that way. You can't just, I'll just go into reckoning as an option. If you're playing with the stealth stuff that's going to stay on the table, you're taking that option away from yourself. Now, with regards to Mordathan and Cades, these guys here, Cades now having that passive is a big difference. However, troops like Mordathan, not necessarily Apothecary Coleman, because his ability only cost 1, but units that use ability, energy, if their stealth is one thing, but if they're taking away your ability to drop more troops, play more tactics from hand to combo on top of that, then you are you're hurting yourself. You're hurting yourself and you're limiting your options. I would like to find a way with a deck, maybe not necessarily Corax, maybe Nev, to fit in a drill site. Drill site might be very beneficial, a timely drill site to give you that 2 additional energy. And I think that might actually work more with Nev because he has the possibility to draw even more cards. The Raven Guard have got some great cards that allow you to draw cards, but his ability, being able to do that, potentially every time you're sentencing a troop and you're using his ability to damage it, that might increase that range. So that might be something to consider. So that was a Sherokin deck, and with regards to that, I got my Nev out first. I forced his hand to use his 2 javelin speeders, and that may be the only anti-stealth that he had, may not, on my stuff, and then I have plenty of other stuff to still follow up with it. Just proper timing and play. So here we're going to have a mirror with a Corvax, and we'll see kind of how that compares. So Cades is not something I want in my initial hand. I want to build up to a Cades. I want to support it. I don't want to be relying on it and having it clog up. That early 3 or 4 turns for Corax is very important. However, having Numes right out the gate is good for so many reasons. Now, again, like I said, it takes away from my reckoning, having a stealth unit on board that might stay on the turn for 1 or 2 reasons, or 1 or 2 turns. But what it does is it forces my opponent to, number 1, take potential extra damage from my warlord with the sentenced effect. Number 2, force my opponent to consider or want to play cards like Informant Network, Artillery Strike, etc., 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 sooner than later. It gets rid of them, but they're a 1/2. They're a 2 cost. If they last 2 turns and then my opponent blows an Artillery Strike on them after the fact, that's great. You used a 4 energy card to kill a 2 energy troop. Now, that 2 energy troop has value. I'm not discounting that. But I've taken something away from my opponent. Especially if they play like a Javelin Speeder to kill that lowly 1/2, that's a great exchange because I know that I've got cards like Mordathan, Cades Nex, Dark Fury, etc., etc., that are stealth, that are higher value, that I would much rather have those removals out of the way before I go into my mode. And it kind of goes into the training cage video I did a while back on telegraph play. Knowing my deck, knowing how Raven Guard operate, there are certain turns where you know, okay, this is a telegraph play. If he's got this, with what I've got on table, he's going to play it, right? If he's got all these options here. I could play the Javelin Speeder, but I'm not really worried about it. I want to build a board. I want to force his hand. If he's got Javelin Speeder, I want him to play it first. And he doesn't. He doesn't play the Javelin Speeder, and that would actually be the best time to do it. He hasn't done that. So instead, I force the issue here. Just a smidge. And what I do is, first off, because Moore's got the ability to just instant 7 and bypass that. But I'm going to take the 7 that he's going to dish out. I'm going to dish out 7, and he's still not breaking the stealth. I've got an escapable cell in hand. I've got a Javelin Speeder. I'm feeling okay with what I've got. And knowing that he hasn't played those makes me feel a lot more comfortable. As a matter of fact, I think in this one here in particular, this kind of helped solidify. I played one card to get rid of 2 of his big heavy cards there. That's a big swing for me. You know, just being able to do that for one card exchange, he lost 2, and then his follow-up is a 4-drop as opposed to a Cade's Next or something else. It puts me in a really good position. And then I know that even though he's got more health than me, the ability that I can deal 7, I can get rid of this with ease. I can follow up with a Cade's Next if I so choose, relatively quickly, because he's down to 4 cards. He hasn't played that yet. I'm feeling comfortable. I'm feeling confident about what I've got. And we're just going to rat-a-tat him while we can. I could have done the 1 and the 7, but I wanted to put more pressure on the board and kind of force out if he had any tactics in this matchup, Curse the Raven or whatever, to kind of force that issue. And I figured he would try to damage a 2 and stealth it, use his ability to go into stealth, but he was just able to kill it for the 2. And then he blows a speeder here, which is proper use, but at this point now he's down to 2 cards because he's got his Whispers, right? And I've got a big, nice, healthy options here. And we're just going to kill the follow-up troop, and we're going to start pinging them. And at this point, with what I've got in hand, these 2 cards here, not to mention what else I can do on table, that's going to be a lot of damage. It's going to be a lot of lethal damage right away. And it puts me at an advantage. I burned out a couple of his options. I burned out one of his speeders, put down a big nasty guy who could survive a speeder by himself. He would have to take the sneak attack. And I'm able to follow up with a load of damage on my turn because I've forced the issue. Mirror matches are always kind of interesting. There's always a couple different builds in there depending on, like, he had Dark Furies at the time. I wasn't running Dark Furies. I really wanted to. It was very hard for me to find a way to squeeze it in. But in that matchup, as well as a couple of the games I've played, it's like, I would just like to have one more higher cost troop to rely upon this. And Dark Furies are not to be, they're not to be dismissed. They've got a great ability, right? Or Shadow Wardens. I'm sorry, Shadow Wardens. 7/6, that's solid stats. But then on top of that, you attack my Warlord, you're dealing 5 to whatever it is, whether that be Warlord like Angron, a nasty troop like the Raven, or any such Reaper of Kaldrak or Kurz. That's solid. There are cards in here I'd like to fit. I'd like to fit a Dravian Clade. This guy is epic against Titan weapons. Against Canis Vertex, having Dravian Clade and then playing Curse of the Raven on your next turn. Are you kidding me? For 2 and I deal 4 damage to all Titan weapons? That's epic. I'd like to find a way to squeeze him in there. I haven't just yet. I don't think there's a perfect build, but this is what I'm working with right now. Again, 6 for 6, give or take a few cards here. And you'll note that I've got Cades, I've got Dark Fury, I've gotten the Shadow Wardens. I put those in the last 2 games. Haven't quite utilized them yet, but I feel comfortable knowing that they're there and that I can use them. These Mortis squads, these guys are great. I love their revision. They're very powerful. They add a lot. Being able to put that sentenced one on a warlord is very nice. Being able to put that on and combo it with other units that you've already got on the board without having to pay energy is huge, especially in a deck that has got decent sizable 4s, 5s, and up. Now what you'll notice is I do not have the Mordathans. I took those out. I'm going to try it without Mordathans. I love Mordathans. Mordathans are nice, but the problem with Mordathans and too many high-cost troops is that you find that you then become torn between using their ability to add sentence to or deploying more support units. And Corax kind of needs those support units to help whittle down pressure, take the pressure off of him, and allow him the options of maneuverability. I think with regards to Nev, I think Nev could very much rely on a Mordathan on field, having 2 of those, especially with his ability, but also just like he can put that pressure out there. It's worth it. For 4 energy on my side with a Mordathan on the field, I can deal 4 damage to something. It's kind of costly, but that's just with 2 cards, not counting anything else in my hand. With Corax, I want to put stuff down to support things to take threats off, and that's very important. So that's how I'm running it right now. We'll see how that goes. Inescapable Cells, definitely worthwhile for me. Down the road, I might change it to 3. I've also got Melgator in here, and Melgator was a big hurdle initially for Shadow Wardens. At the time, when Raven Guard launched out, for a very long time, they were susceptible. You could find a way to break their shadow and then just bounce them up with Melgator, and then they're back in your opponent's hand. And now that's not the case. They're outside of Melgator range. They're still within an escapable cell range, but it's still more of a risk. You're taking that 5 damage hit to break their stealth, unless you are comboing it with an Informant Network or Arcadia's or something like that. But hit and run on Melgator, that's really fun. I think I've got one here. Maybe Nassau. Definitely this Loken deck. I played this guy playing Loken here, which is a straight burn. Damage as much as they possibly can. That's what the Sons of Horus do. But if I can stealth, if I can give myself health, if I can stay outside of your lethal range or put threats on the board that you can't ignore, especially with a 30 health, it makes it a lot easier. Same went for the Horus game. If you saw that on my list, that was, I think, the first or second game I played was against Horus. Same style, same approach, same tactics used to combat it and best it. But yeah, hit and run and Melgator are really nice, because then you get a Melgator back, you can use a Melgator again, and then on top of that, just having him with that flank helps nudge out, whether it be a sentenced, whether it be do damage on a unit to help, use Corax's ability. It's just nice to have. And when you hit and run with a Melgator, your opponent then knows that you have a Melgator in hand. And again, going into the choreographed, telegraphed play, then it becomes up to them to either bait it out or deal with it, knowing that, okay, well, maybe he will Melgator this, and maybe I will, maybe I won't. But bad rolls on the diff sats, by the way. But that makes it it's a positive for you, is really what it is. You're telling them, yeah, I've got a Melgator in my hand, and then they have to change their entire approach at that point to what they do. It's not just like, oh, he's got a tactic that deals damage. He's got a troop that can nullify really the effectiveness of me putting down any of my units that have 4 attack or less. That's nice. That's very nice. And I'm going to do that here on these guys. You might be surprised why. I'm willing to take that damage. I don't want him to have bodies on the table to put rounds on, to pressure on, to take off my troops. And I have the ability to have multiple units on the board to ideally dilute the odds of that happening on my warlord a second time, which in this case is exactly what happens. I would have liked for it to hit Melgator, but I'll take it on my Ekratrez. I'm still in a healthy health range. I'm up by 10 health. and we haven't even begun to fight. And we've got this Deliverance, which now heals 2. This card is just a great change. Properly feels like a legendary. Adds a lot to the Raven Guard. I like it. I like it a lot. And being able to hide from a direct damage. I mean, you could throw out an Informant Network, but at energy, he's not going to be able to follow it up with a Vengeful Spirit or anything like that. So that's very nice. And then we can duck and fade and play that game out there too. Go into stealth mode and just draw that out and bait him, bring his health down low. I've got 2 inescapable cells in my hand, and I've got a Melgator in my hand. I'm feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good, and that's a good position to want to be in. That's a nice gnarly troop. I'm not worried about it. I can actually deal with it, and with the 3 energy costs of that card in conjunction with the other lower cost cards I've got, even Scimitar, Solero, several of the other 3 cost cards, I can continue to put pressure on my opponent as opposed to just like, that's my action is taking rid of that card. Like it. I like that change a lot. So those are just a few games. Very similar results. Again, this shouldn't be new if you have played against Corax. If you have Corax, Corax has been around for 2 years in the game. So he's not something that you should be surprised by. You should be happy about how these new cards work and how they improve it. And I just think with regards to how they performed, I don't think, again, there's any changes there that I dislike. I think there's, is there any card that was changed? I was using Guerrilla Warfare for a while. That extra range damage was nice, but I did take that out because of the cost ratio, the tactic ratio, and I wanted to squeeze in that Shadow Wardens. Other than that, I think really I've put in what I want to put in this deck. Could I change out Goldstones for Torvaic and have a longer lasting impact? Yes, I could, and I might, because with Deliverance, I might get more value out of them, right? They can fast, they can deal 2, they've still got 2 health left, but then I can play Deliverance. They gain 2 health back, and they're stealth, plus they're unstoppable. That might be a good value. That might be something for me to look into. They have 1 less attack, but that sustainability, that longevity might be worth it. So that might be a change that I'll make there, is take Torvaic out. Lower attack, but same cost and potential longer impact on the game. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff coming from the Raven Guard. This is just I tweaked probably about 4 or 5 cards here. No, I tweaked 5 cards here. With the existing deck, it changed up the playstyle just a smidge, but in a positive way. I think these changes were great. I am really looking forward to working on a Nev and kind of following that up with my deck list series, because this is, aside from this Corvax deck, I think the only other deck that I've shown that has a Primarch was Fulgrim. Way back, it was like one of my first deck videos, way back when. I don't like doing it with Primarchs for a few reasons. Number one, rarity. Not everybody has access to a Primarch, and that is the biggest reason. I don't want to be like, hey, look how cool this guy is that you don't have, and that's really hard to get because he's never available. I do think, following the Raven Guard changes to the shop and traditionally what they'll do, keep your eye out. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but maybe next weekend. There may be the Alt Art Corax starter deck available in the shop, and if you don't have him, it's not great artwork, but as far as a Warlord goes, and as far as the changes to the faction go, if you don't have him, anytime there's a Warlord in the shop, it's worth picking up. Not a Warlord, a Primarch specifically, Legendary Warlord. It's worth picking up because those just are very hard to encounter in the game via rewards, unless you're really aggressively going after them in faction crates or expansion crates. And he's a good Warlord. He really is. His Reckoning is not something that you build for. It's something that can happen, and it can be very powerful. But he's got a great Legion, and I think the tools that have been updated to revise, I think they make him much more playable. But I would like to focus on, Nev and even 6. 6 is not necessarily a warlord that is going to play a lot of the Raven Guard cards, though, which is one reason why I'm not showing him off or anything like that, because he's really more... He's going to show neutrals and a few other like flankers, and he's going to have more cards outside of the faction that really wouldn't give me an opportunity to see how Deliverance, how Mortis plays. Although, to be fair, I think Mortis might be a very good addition to him anyways. But yeah, I'm looking forward to diving into these guys here. Shuriken, there's deck list out there for Shuriken, and maybe one day, but I just feel like he's got enough attention. There's ways to find him. I want to show the less played, the less frequent. I might do a Shuriken, but is it going to be any different than what you've seen else out there? Probably not. Probably not. And for that reason, I'd like to just break from the mold, just a smidge. So that's it from me, guys. That is Corax deck list following the April 2020 changes to the Raven Guard. Positive results so far. Again, it's a small pool, but that's all the time I've had this weekend. That's all the time that I should correct myself. That's all the time that I have chosen this weekend to spend on Legions, which is very unusual for me, but I just needed a weekend to just burn off some work exhaustion and some physical exhaustion. Next week, we go into the White Scars. I should be doing spoilers, I believe, Wednesday at 1700 UTC, so that is noon U.S. Central Time. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to sharing some White Scars information and card details with everybody. Really looking forward to seeing what the White Scars do, and I hope they're better than the Blood Angels. Because the Blood Angels are disappointing, yes. Also, I kind of like the White Scars, The book Scars, I wasn't a thrilled, it was interesting story as far as plot went. I was like, okay, that's interesting. I wasn't a fan of how it was written or the characters in it. However, the follow-up Pathway to Heaven, Path to Heaven, was really good. If you haven't read that, I would recommend that. It was a really good read, some good characterization there, some good stakes. It really, it hooked me and drove me through. It was really good reading, and I enjoyed that a lot. And that really got me reinvigorated with the White Scars, because their role in the Heresy initially starts out very small, but they are one of the defenders of Terra alongside the Imperial Fist and the Blood Angels, and they play a very important role. And Jagtai Khan is a very interesting character. And his actions, his loyalty, his fighting skill, it goes without saying, so it's nice to be able to see them get some proper light, get some proper shine. Everybody talks about Sanguinius. Very few people talk about the Khan, and I think that's unfortunate, because I think the Khan is a cool character. So, with that being said, I am looking forward to them. I'm looking forward to seeing them in-game, seeing how they operate. I imagine they're going to be doing a lot of bike action and a lot of fast action, and just a lot of honor stuff. Like, we will die on our blades, but we're taking you with us type of thing, or we're gonna make you bleed, and you'll and draw you out. That'd be an interesting style, not a stall tactic necessarily, but like a null tactic. No, just deny. I don't know, there's so many ways to go about it. Anyways, I'm speculating here. I don't like speculating. We will know soon enough. We'll know in a couple days. I think we'll know a little bit more in 24 hours. With that being said, guys, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to finish up Police Academy 5. What was it? They go to Miami from that one? Is that Operation Miami? Assignment Miami? You always got to go to Miami. Look, when a movie franchise goes to space, it's over, right? That's my theory. Anything else, unless it starts in space, that's a different thing. But Critters 3 was in space. Jason X. Leprechaun 4 was in space, but then they did Leprechaun in the Hood, but like, did it even count? Like, just when you go to space, it's over. So they haven't gone Police Academy in space yet. But they've also, like, I mean, at this point, if they did a retcon of Police Academy, I don't know how it would go over. And I don't even know why I'm talking about Police Academy on my Horus Heresy Legions thing here. It just was on my mind today. Just some laugh, just some stupid fun. Gosh darn it, because we need some stupid fun. And with that being said, I'm going to get out of here, guys. You guys have a good weekend. Keep playing Legions and have fun. We'll talk to you soon. A couple more days. I'll be doing some White Scars reveals, so stay tuned. All right, bye.